So yeah, I mean the name Sprintlaw comes from agile project management, lean startup. And the idea is, which you would be familiar with, but maybe some of the listeners may or may not. This idea of working rather than in a kind of linear project plan, you work in sprints in those methodologies. And the idea is when you're building a product or even a business, rather than planning for ages and then launching and then figuring out that no one actually liked what you built, if you work in sprints, quickly build, test, and loop it, you can build a much more user friendly or more usable experience for the customers.
Welcome to Foundations. I'm Johan from Tension Studio. And I started this podcast to highlight the journeys of brave founders building different businesses in the creative and tech space. As I find myself working with more and more founders, I became fascinated by the stories that drive them. Who are these founders anyway? What are the challenges, their insights, and approaches that drive their success? So, for our first ever episode, we have Alex Solo of Sprintlaw on the show. Let's dive in. Today, I'm excited to welcome Alex, co-founder of Sprintlaw, on the show. So Sprintlaw is a law tech business, and your mission, Alex, is to make legal services fast, simple, affordable for small businesses everywhere. Taken straight from your LinkedIn, so it should be close to the truth.
Nailed it.
But before we dive into our conversation, could you share a bit more about yourself and maybe like the origin story behind Sprintlaw?
For sure. So Sprintlaw has been around for nearly 8 years now, which is quite a while. All that said, we still consider ourselves a startup and very early on in the journey of where we want to be. But as you sort of said, the mission is all about helping small businesses. And the reason that we founded Sprintlaw was we realized that millions of smaller businesses in Australia and in the UK, which is another market that we're in, are not able to access affordable legal services. In fact, many of them are not consuming legal services at all. When we started the business, and it's still true today, something like 50% of small businesses wouldn't go see a lawyer when they had a legal problem. And of those that did go, about 10% had a positive experience. So you can see it's a pretty broken system for the smaller businesses. I used to work as a technology corporate lawyer in one of the big firms, met my co-founder Tomo there. Both of us were kind of helping bigger clients and saw how they used lawyers, and they know how to use lawyers. I mean, it's very rare that you'd find a big business that doesn't have lawyers either in-house or sort of available to assist them when they have a legal problem. But we saw all these small businesses kind of unrepresented off on the other side of the table signing terrible deals, and that kind of enlivened us to the problem. And both of us had a bit of a background in tech. When I was much younger, still at university, I'd started like a small web development company, and even though I was a lawyer, always kind of wanted to be a tech guy. And my co-founder Tomo had worked in legal tech, and so we kind of bonded over like the kind of potential for technology to make stuff way simpler, way cheaper. Then this big problem with small businesses that aren't consuming legal. Put two and two together, and you can see that there's something there. And we just thought, okay, let's use technology. Let's automate the crap out of legal. Let's bring down the cost, and let's try and get these small businesses some legal help. And that is, I guess, the origin of kind of where Sprintlaw started.
Nice. It's a pretty good OG story. Yeah. Well, obviously, we work together on some of your platform. And so I can tell already, you guys are building quite a pretty decent business there, and it's kind of taking off in some ways. So what would you say you're most excited about right now with Sprintlaw? Like, it feels like it's a kind of a transition moment almost.
Yeah, I think, look, we started the business wanting to use tech to make legal, much more affordable without really sacrificing on the quality. And since LLMs came along a few years ago, it's been this sort of massive acceleration in the ability of us to do stuff. And that's not just because we think that, like AIs can do what lawyers do. We don't necessarily think that's true. But even just all the operational efficiencies you get from LLMs and the speed of development. And, we're in this period now where we've had visions and ideas in our heads of features and functionality and things that we want for small businesses. But, bit by bit, you got to raise capital, grow and build it. It takes years to build. Now the pace of us to be able to build these tools and the quality of these tools, whether they use a bit of AI or not, is so much higher. And so really it's felt like the last 2 years obviously working with you and just in general have really unlocked this ability for us to achieve this vision in a much quicker way, where we're shipping, feels like really every week now we're shipping a new feature which is making it easier for small businesses to do stuff, or making our lawyers more efficient, which brings down the cost. So yeah, very, very kind of exciting time. And we've definitely, which you would expect over time, we're a business that's both a law firm and a technology business, really all about how do we make legal simple for small businesses. And as tech gets better, we become more and more of a technology business, because the tech can do more and more of the heavy lifting. And that's certainly been something that's been happening in the last couple of years, and was a big focus of that project that we worked on, is techifying a lot of what we do.
Yeah. And is there been I guess the more businesses you work with, the more scale that you get to, like, do you understand a lot more of your customers as you're doing? Like, did you have one expectation of what customers wanted, and as you built, kind of got real feedback as you were speaking to more and more customers, getting the feedback on what they were using or what they weren't using? Like, how did that kind of shape the product?
So yeah, I mean, the name Sprintlaw comes from agile project management, lean startup. The idea is, which you would be familiar with, but maybe some of the listeners may or may not, this idea of working rather than in a kind of linear project plan. You work in sprints in those methodologies, and the idea is when you're building a product or even a business, rather than planning for ages and then launching and then figuring out that no one actually liked what you built, if you work in sprints, quickly build, test, and loop it, you can build a much more user friendly or more usable experience for the customers. And so Sprintlaw was kind of like, we named it that in part because we just want to be fast, but in part because we felt that law firms never really listened to their customers, never designed their service around customers. And they had this super traditional model that worked well for them, billable hours, nice suits, nice offices. But for many customers, it was the wrong fit. And so that's always been a part of the DNA, is like, let's ship, let's test, let's evolve, both in terms of the tech that we build, but also even in terms of the services. Like, for example, we've done, I think, to take one of our services, gym terms and conditions. We've probably done 600 gym terms and conditions for our clients that have gyms. The first time we did it, we'd only done one gym terms and conditions. But now that we've done, hundreds of them, we've learned what the issues are. And a big part of our model is that we capture the data from each job and get smarter and smarter over time. So when you're gym 601, we can now tell you, here's like the percentage of gyms that have this and don't have this. And so that's been a really big feature of just building the business and getting better over time. And then in terms of the platform, it's the same thing. We launched these features, but we're getting feedback from customers. We're watching them use it. We're seeing what bugs emerge, constantly testing and changing. And even in we launched this big platform upgrade. It was 8 months ago now, I think. You would obviously know this, but you spend ages even just getting to the initial launch, but all the magic really happens kind of in the first 6 to 8. And so much has already changed in the way that the platform works, because so many of the features, we get feedback on what works, what doesn't work. Simple things like where a button's placed can make a big difference in how helpful that your product is. So that's been another big learning for us.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess, like, with that feedback, do you ever find yourself struggling to know where to focus, where to focus resources based on, if everything kind of seems important, how do you kind of decide which way or which thing to work on first?
I think that is just objectively challenging to know. And there's a couple of ways that we think about tasks that get mined out of our platform, whether it's from user feedback or just ideas we have to improve it, and goes for the business more generally. We think about effort and impact, and then confidence of impact. So like, how hard is this thing to do? Is it like something we can test in 10 seconds, or is it a big feature build? And then if we roll this out, what impact is it going to have on, and impact might be it's going to reduce cost, improve customer experience, whatever it is. We try and quantify the impact. Is it high impact, medium impact, low impact? And then obviously you're guessing at the beginning. So how confident are you that might it have a massive impact, but it might also be a waste of time? Or how confident are you? And when you have those dimensions, and you can obviously tweak what the task is, you might have an idea, or users are finding this thing really difficult. Maybe we can solve it this way. It's like, okay, that's very high effort. Is there another way we could solve it that's lower effort? But when we're looking at the task through those dimensions of like effort, impact, and then confidence of impact, that helps prioritize, I guess, what we work on, and we kind of constantly doing that.
Yeah.
And then probably a second thing that we do is a lot of things. There's a lot of mini tasks that are kind of like quick wins, and it's easy. Again, just talking not only about the platform but across our business generally, it's very easy to just put them to the bottom of the list because they're kind of medium impact. And but one of the principles that we use is like, if it's like going to take under 5 minutes, just get it done.
Yeah.
And so
nice.
each week we're often clearing a lot of mini tasks and quick wins, and then we start working on the chunky stuff in that priority. And I think that's kind of like our workflow. But it is tough because, in a business or in a product or really in anything in life in general, there's infinite things you could be doing, and deciding what to do is most of the battle here.
Yeah, interesting. Is that like the opposite of eating the frog? Like that, the whole idea of like doing the hard things first.
Yes.
But I also can see, the benefit of picking up the smaller wins and then getting momentum from like validation. Yeah, we're shipping quickly, like from a confidence, from a team perspective.
Yes.
I imagine that also playing, a part with morale and also, momentum, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It feels good to ship something new. The developers in my team would say that we're shipping way too fast at the moment, which is, let's slow down and test more. But I think, yeah, I mean, these LLMs, even just for dev, like just purely on the tech stuff for dev, have really accelerated stuff. Even in the last 3-4 months, we've just been able to ship so much faster. So that itself means you can do things that you used to think were massive features. They've now become quick win category stuff.
Yeah.
And that's also helping build a lot of momentum. But I think you're spot on. Like, getting little things done at the same time as you're doing the big things is very rewarding, I think, for people as well. So they're not just getting mired in an overwhelming task.
Yeah. Fair enough. And with that said, like all the LLM stuff coming in and shipping quickly or shipping fast, things are growing. Do you have a magic crystal ball? Can you tell where Sprintlaw is going in this kind of next year?
I think, like the way we kind of think about it is the business's mission is all about making legal easy, accessible, affordable for the small businesses. So everything we're doing is with that in mind. How can we just make this experience better for the small business? And there is and that's an evolving question as we learn more and more about the customers, as the customers change. I mean, we're 8 years in, so what customers want now is different to what they wanted 8 years ago. And right now, many of them want to work with our legal team, and so a lot of what we focus on is making that experience as awesome as possible and as efficient as possible. So a lot of what we're working on at the moment is lawyer side technology to make our lawyers more efficient.
Oh, right. Yeah, internal operation stuff. Yeah, nice.
Internal op stuff, yeah, and there's a lot of stuff we're doing there with better access to data, workflows, and AI on that side. And then on the customer side, it's a mix between optimizing the existing features we have. We have things like a legal health feature, and we got an e-signatures feature. We got a make your own document feature. So we're getting feedback on those, seeing users use those and figuring out what they like and what they don't like. So we're going to just be improving all that stuff, as well as like a really long feature roadmap. Some of them are in the category of like potential huge impact but low confidence. Like, so we're going to be rolling out some zany stuff as well as some like less zany stuff, and we'll see what sticks. Yeah.
So you have a balance between like hitting the singles but also just going for the home runs every now and then. Is that right? Like,
yeah. It's what is it? Wild swings and sure things.
Yeah, right.
One of my friends told me that, which I don't mind. It's a mix between a few of those features. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's like this idea of small bets, small incremental bets, and then some of the bets you never really know, right? You have confidence in things working, and then once it ships, the customer will say something completely different. And so to bet big on one thing is definitely not the way. But yeah, it's interesting. I think there seems to be, with the way you work anyway, that's where you're headed. And so, like, I mean, I was going to say if resources were unlimited, what would you invest in right now? But it seems like time is the resource that you're kind of most limited with at the moment, with so many things being easier to ship. Is there one big thing that really excited about, that you would kind of feel like you're going to go all in on without revealing what the product is, but like any kind of like general themes that you feel like you can go really deep on.
I mean, I think like, so, in terms of what we're building in the platform and our kind of like technology, we're not super throttled by, as you say, anything other than time. Like if we were going to invest in the business, um, in general, like the big area for investment is just growth and awareness about what we're doing, and that I think we could be investing much more in. But the product development is moving like pretty quick. I mean, I want to touch up our UI and make the experience look better, and our website and those sorts of things. In terms of platform features, like we're launching some pretty cool stuff in the coming months. Like we're going to have like a AI email feature, which allows customers to like, have their own email address, where they can just forward stuff to, and it'll appear in our platform, and they can get advice from it. So that's like one feature that's coming out. We're launching some AI doc builders for our lawyers, where they can kind of generate legal documents for quite sophisticated legal matters from scratch, and then export it into like Word formats and things like that. We're working on scanning tools to monitor our customers, websites to see if there's legal risks on their website. There's a ton of stuff like that. There's a lot of really cool features, and we've got a legal health feature, which is I think our most used feature at the moment, where customers are kind of monitoring the health of their business. And right now it's questionnaire oriented, but over time, what we're investing in is augmenting that with AI insights, both from documents they've uploaded. We can kind of look through them and potentially find issues in them. From more information we can glean about their business, from notes our lawyers leave or otherwise. Can we get smarter and smarter at being more and more personalized in terms of the advice that we give them and the insights that we give them? So those are probably some of the areas that I'm pretty excited about, and are kind of already underway, which is pretty cool. So we just got to refine them, make sure that they work really good, and ship them. And the roadmap goes on for years, but I'm sure it'll just keep evolving as we keep getting feedback. But yeah, it's all moving pretty fast now. And again, I had you asked me 3 months ago, I'd be like, oh, there's so much you want to do. I don't know when we're going to get it done. But really, in the last 3 months, with particularly like some of the new, like Claude 3.7 came out, which is really good for coding, stuff like that. And then some of the, which you've probably seen, the new UI builder tools where you can mock up a quick UI pretty quickly. I mean, they don't look great, but they can give you like a wireframe for something pretty fast.
Honestly, a few of my clients are using it. It's super helpful, I think, because it kind of it unblocks you and being able to ideate and kind of like get instant feedback that way. I think the real work is like getting that on a page to be able to talk to it, as opposed to talking ideas. I think that kind of just speeds things up. No, I totally agree on that one.
Yes, it's that's been pretty cool. So yeah, all of that is accelerating the crap out of things, which is nice. Pretty cool.
Nice. Well, I mean, it seems like a whirlwind 8 years. Like I said, any kind of like maybe advice, lesson, one of those kind of like key nuggets of wisdom and Alex Solo wisdom that we can put on a tea towel or a coffee cup that for all founders to kind of learn from. Would you have any wisdom for new founders?
Yeah, it's interesting. Do I have like a single statement? I mean, we started Sprintlaw when we weren't like teenage founders, but we were relatively young. Like I was 27 and had run a tiny little small business before, but certainly only feel like now in the last few years we're really confident, and I'm sure we'll say the same thing in 5 years' time, but really confident in kind of what we're doing. And some of the insights have been like, making sure that you're not scaling your business too quickly, and you're taking the time to make sure that things are as efficient as they can be before you try and grow. Certainly in the era when we started the business, and still today, but maybe slightly less so, if you were a technology business, every investor, everyone's telling you, grow as fast as possible. You got to get bigger. You got to get bigger. You got to get bigger. And certainly some of the mistakes we made in the first half of our life were growing faster than we were ready for. And I think, we certainly slowed down the last couple of years, and things are so much better, so much more efficient. And, again, the principle with this scaling fast thing, it's like, for example, if you're hiring people, it's like if you're not sure about a new area of your business or a new role, but you want to grow quickly, you might have pressure. Oh, let's hire 5 people to do this thing. Let's go from 1 person to 5 people, and then maybe we'll get 5 times the return. That very rarely happens, and it's much safer to go from 1 to 2 people, then 2 to 3 people, then 3 to 5 people, then go straight from 1 to 5, and kind of bit by bit. Now, you may not have the luxury if the business or the space that you're in needs you to drive a Ferrari and go as quick as possible because it's a winner takes all.
Yeah.
But very few businesses actually require that level of speed. And these days, where I think speed is a commodity, where LLMs are making things faster and faster and faster, doing things like well rather than super fast is probably where the magic is. And that's coming from a guy that runs a business called Sprintlaw. I'm saying don't necessarily always sprint in the fast sense, but that's probably my little bit of wisdom.
Fair enough. And I will say jog law doesn't have the same kind of ring to it.
No, it doesn't.
No, appreciate your time. One fun, quick, and I guess you get to decide if it's fun or not, but like what's knowing you as a, having through chats previously, you're a creative guy, you like to write music. How do you see yourself, what's one creative outlet for you that, during kind of like a busy period or some kind of way for you to kind of like reset yourself? What would that be for you? What's a creative outlet for you personally?
I mean, definitely music is my main sort of artistic thing that I'm into. Work itself can be creative depending on the kind of work that you're doing. Like certainly aspects of of Sprintlaw I find quite similar in a way to writing music, like spitballing, trying stuff, seeing if it works, throwing ideas around. And part of the job is like doing your numbers and filling out forms, and that bit is not super creative. But then again, even when you're writing music, part of it, I produce electronic music sometimes, is booting up the software, watching the tutorial videos and loading in the plugins. So there's always that stuff to be done. But so sometimes it's like working late on a platform feature is actually my creative outlet, even though that's within the business. And other times I try each week to do a bit of writing. I'm still kind of in a band. We haven't played that much since COVID. So I try and do a little bit of that. And yes, whenever I'm feeling a bit stressed out, I will start playing songs to my toddler on my guitar. And they used to be adult songs. These days they're more
Baby
Old
Shark.
MacDonald had a farm and Baby Shark. But yeah, that's definitely my wind down thing.
No, look forward to the album. No, appreciate your time, Alex. Obviously enjoyed our work together when we worked together, helping you out on your platform, but also just our conversations have always been super rewarding. So appreciate your time and look forward to seeing where Sprintlaw is headed.
Likewise. Great to chat, man.
All right, take care.